Hey guys, today I'm coming to you live from my old stomping ground in Hollywood on Seward Street, and I'm standing in front of 801 North Seward, which is a sign company now, but back in the day when I worked here, this was where I got my first taste of working in animation and voiceover. Now Seward Street's a great little street as far as motion pictures goes, all the way up to from Santa Monica Boulevard all the way down to Melrose. It's lined with motion picture and entertainment production companies, little mom and pop places, and all the way up to the Hollywood Center stages, the sound stages, film labs. On one end you've got things like the old Kaleidoscope Film Company that used to cut trailers, where I used to dumpster dive looking for trailers to put in my collection. And over this way you've got the old Westheimer building, where Joe Westheimer used to do opticals for all the TV shows. My lunch break, this was very dangerous. Bob Clampett had his studio down the street. I used to go pester him on my lunch break. Bob Clampett, of course, was the director for the Looney Tunes and the Beanie and Cecil show. So this was a great place to kind of start out in the film industry. I didn't have a car back in those days. I used to walk to work, and I used to walk past all these great buildings and production companies, and it was really quite an experience. But the thing that I did here at Wexler Films, which what used to be in this building, was I was their animation cameraman. I used to shoot all their animation, and this is where I got to meet some of the voiceover greats like Vic Perrin, who you may know did the voiceover intro to The Outer Limits. You know, the "do not adjust your set, we will control the horizontal, we will control the vertical." He used to do all the voiceovers over here. So animation camera was a pretty tough job, very complicated. It's a big piece of hardware, and I'm going to show you exactly what that's all about. So here we are at present day 801 North Seward Street in Hollywood, California. And now let's turn back the clock a bit and go to mid-1980s 801 North Seward Street. And this is the way Wexler Films looked when I worked there. Now this building had been there since about the late 1940s. Cy Wexler had worked in the Frank Capra unit in the Army Signal Corps in World War II making films. When the war was over, he and his friend Bob Churchill got together and formed a company that specialized in making educational, medical, and scientific films. As a matter of fact, here is Cy. He's underneath the camera, next to the tripod, in his element, watching a brain being sliced, which is very typical of the kind of things that they would film there. Now this is the Richardson Bolds animation stand that was built specifically for Wexler Films. As a matter of fact, there was an article in the January 1953 issue of the SEMTI Journal that talked about this stand, and that it was made specifically for this company. It's a very simple stand, very basic. It doesn't have any computer controls or automation on it, unfortunately. It's a lot of math that has to be done in order to make things move on this camera stand. Now this is the actual camera itself. It's a classic Acme Photosonics camera. Yes, there actually was an Acme camera company, just like in the Roadrunner cartoons. The crank you see on the side is not the kind of crank that you would see on an old-time movie camera. That's actually the control for the shutter that allows you to do in-camera fade-ins, fade-outs, and cross-dissolves. Next to the camera are the controls for the lights and the fans that keep the lights cool. And that sort of gray rectangle you see there with the light shining on it, that is the stand for your X sheets. And your X sheets are pretty much the instructions for the camera operator for the scene that they're shooting. It has, how the cells are supposed to be layered on top of each other, the number of frames you're supposed to shoot each one, if there's any camera moves and dissolves and things like that. Now, this is the view from the captain's chair. This is the front of the animation stand. That sort of center box has the controls for moving the camera up and down the back column. That top row of four blue knobs there, they control the four pan bars that are there on the table. There's two above and two below the center platen. The center platen is where the artwork goes. Those pan bars can hold different kinds of cells, different sizes of cells, and most of all they're used to hold the backgrounds. You know, like when Fred Flintstone runs in his living room and the same furniture goes by again and again and again. It's because it's been put on a pan bar and just run over and over. The two blue knobs at the bottom control the north, south, and east-west movements of the table, and then underneath that there's like a foot control to raise the platen up and down. And here we have some animation that I actually shot on this camera. Starfields, a couple of very 80s flying logos, no CGI here, folks, and the classic spinning newspaper effect. And this logo is for the Chem Study series. If you took chemistry in high school, you probably saw these films. They had me shoot this candle I don't know how many times. It was supposed to melt and recreate itself from the melted wax, and then they decided that didn't make any sense from a chemistry standpoint. And Vic Perrin, the voice of the Outer Limits, and Nomad from Star Trek, is the narrator here.
This is oil, the way it comes out of the ground.
Classic stuff. So there you have it, a little trivia about my beginnings in voiceover and animation in Hollywood. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you later.